Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is catastrophizing. I thought we would continue the topic we started and tried on Friday, but this one came to mind. So I thought we'd start a new week fresh. We'll see how it goes. Should be an interesting conversation. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any tension, any remaining stress, any negativity and fatigue. And now let's just press our palms together and rub them briskly to feel the friction and the temperature and to put ourselves present to that sensation and allow that sensation to bring us into awareness of these remarkable physical forms that enable us to experience life. So welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to be here with you guys. And it's a new week. So today's topic is catastrophizing. And I'm wondering, I see this pattern in others, and I've seen it in myself, that when events happen that disrupt the anticipated flow of things, that particularly if it's in a way that feels like something's gone wrong, and particularly when we have a string of such events, we might tend to feel like everything is crumbling, and we might tend to do something that I call catastrophizing, which is expanding out our perception, projecting our perception of calamity outward. So when we have personal challenges, when things are feeling difficult and unsettling for ourselves, we often tend to project that into our view of the world. And it can influence and impact our worldview. So if you're writing comments, by the way, and I'm not responding, is because I don't see your comments. So please, if you would like to engage, go to the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, or go to the Enlightened World Network YouTube channel, either one. And you should be able to post comments. I'm just going to check and see if we are live. But let's just talk about when we are disrupted in. Yep, it looks like we're live. So please leave your comments on EWN's Facebook page or YouTube channel. So there's a lot in the world that we could be very distressed by. And I think we walk a tightrope or a delicate balance to be able to be aware of what's going on in the world without being at the effect of it. And when we have personal disruptions in our own lives, the filter through which we experience. Good morning, Sophia. Thanks so much for chiming in. I'm glad to know that things are working. It's great to have you here with us this morning. So I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. And anyway, so we're talking about catastrophizing and how, you know, we go through times in our lives where things happen that aren't according to plan and disrupt our expectations. And that's when these things occur that we get to be even more alert to the stories that we create, right? So this happened and that happened, and I see a pattern, and that must mean that that whatever we create that it should mean. And so I woke up in the middle of the night last night and had a disruption. Actually, it was amazing. There was incredible thunder and lightning throughout the night here last night. And it was interesting that there was internal disruption going on as well. And I got to recognize that to use it as an opportunity. So when these moments occur, I tend to operate from the perspective that life is happening for me and through me. And of course, it's a whole lot easier to operate through that perspective when everything is going along beautifully and it's easy to see life's blessings. And then when there are moments of disruption, then it's not necessarily as easy to be recognizing or to be viewing experience through that lens of life happening for me and through me, because it's like, wow, this went wrong and this is happening, and now look at the world and all these problems and everything's falling apart and the world's coming to an end. And it's interesting to watch the internal dynamic when we experience disruption and how we will then project outward and generalize that feeling to other things. And so the question that I'm posing, and this is what I was working with myself in recognizing, oh, there's a moment of catastrophizing here. Okay, well, what do I do with this? And recognizing it as an opportunity, things come up to be healed. Issues, triggers, reactivity comes up so that we have the opportunity, at least this is my hypothesis, again, not truth with a capital T, but it's a framework through which I deliberately and consciously choose to interact with life. So if life is happening for me, what benefit can I find in this situation? And it may not be something that you, good morning, Susan. Great to have you here with us this morning. We are talking about catastrophizing. So the benefit or the opportunity may not be super visible, but at the very least, if we recognize that we're falling into this place of catastrophizing, most often it is founded in fear. And so we get the opportunity then to be addressing our fear and the underlying assumptions that generate that fear. So a lot of us have experienced fears around money. And when we look at that, what is underlying it? The fear that we may end up on the street. And I remember I remember, I think it was in a course that I took, and it might have been Lynn Twist's course, The Soul of Money, but I'm not sure. But many of us catastrophize, our financial situations. And right now, with the markets being what they are, I have some crypto, and right now it's really tanking or tanked. And so looking at that, and hello, good morning, Dido. Welcome. So glad to have you here with us this morning. Lisa, welcome. So glad to have you here with us this morning. So we're talking about catastrophizing. And I think it's a really relevant topic, folks, because we tend to catastrophize when there's disruption of our norms, right? So we were talking about catastrophizing around money and the fear around it. And what happens is we generalize the fear. Maybe we have an expense, and then what goes on in our minds is, good morning, Sue. So good to have you here with us. I wanna say thank you for coming back despite our technical difficulties on Friday. It's great to have you all back. And anyway, let's look at this catastrophizing thing, because I think that it's something that we tend to do, that fear generates fear. And so when we notice that our fear arises around a situation, whether it's money or whether it's relationships or whether it's world events, when we notice that fear is arising, we can use this as an opportunity to look more deeply. And what's underlying that fear is a sense that we're disconnected from the universe, that the universe doesn't have our back, or we're very attached to what it looks like for the universe to have our back. And good morning, Gia. So good to have you here with us. Welcome. We're talking about catastrophizing. So the thing is that when we start going down that rabbit hole, and it can be a really dark tunnel, right? If we let our minds run with the fear, then the fear exponentially multiplies and gets projected onto pretty much everything until we feel that we have no rootedness at all. We lose our center is what happens, because while we like to have a solid foundation, we like to have things predictable, we're moving into a less and less predictable world, and it's going to be more and more important for us to find resiliency within ourselves to respond to this world, and to be able not only to survive in it, but to thrive and flourish in it. Gia says, what a topic. I need to hear more on it. Thank you, dear Mira Rubin, for choosing this topic. Gia, you are so welcome, and thank you for that affirmation, confirmation. So what we get to do is to find this place of center. And when that fear arises, when we look at the woundedness beneath it, we can say, okay, so what's happening that's generating that fear? And we may have had really deep traumatic experiences in our past that had us feel not only unsupported, but attacked and endangered, and in many cases physically, sexually, emotionally endangered. And when there is a trigger for fear, that has a tendency, all those past traumas tend to kind of coalesce into an experience of fear that's generated as much or more from the past than from the present. And also taking whatever that fear is in the present and projecting it forward, projecting the circumstance into something that's going to devolve into catastrophe, right? So if I have had a financial setback, it means my life is over and I'm going to end up being a homeless person. And so I was talking about, I think it was the Soul of Money course, but I'm not sure that where this exercise came from, but it was to really face our fears about money. And so if the fear is of ending up homeless, then the exercise was to allow yourself to face that. Like, what would it be to be homeless? How might that look? How might that feel? And in allowing oneself to face the fear, to experience the fear, we can also find potential gifts and opportunities within that fear. There may be new opportunities that would occur out of not being bound to a physical location. There may be I'm not minimizing the potential trauma of being homeless. Please understand that. And I have heard stories of homeless people who have been able to come back and create a whole new life for themselves. I've heard of stories, the whole spectrum of stories around being homeless. And that's a huge topic, and I don't want to get too deeply into that. However, what I can say is that whatever our circumstance, we can bring possibility to it. That we need not be at the effect of circumstance. And so by facing our fears, we have the potential to denature them, and also to recognize the stories that we're creating. And when we recognize the stories that we're creating, we can create new ones. And perhaps we can, through the insights gained from facing our fears, make new decisions, make decisions that may prevent such an occurrence in the future. We can use these opportunities to become wiser. And we can also look at the wounds that generate the fear, because when we're in fear, we're not so resourceful, are we? And so thank you, Sue. Sue says, whatever the circumstance, we can bring possibilities to it. Exactly. So we are going to be challenged. We have been challenged and we are going to be challenged. And we're facing many challenging circumstances in the world. And we have the choice of how to be with those circumstances. One is we get to do the inner work that allows us. Good morning, Rosalind. So glad to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about catastrophizing. And when we notice the runaway train that is moving down that dark tunnel of fear and despair, we get to look at, oh, I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling despair. What's underneath that? Where's the woundedness? Where does that pattern originate? And when we recognize that, we can see that we're not being in the present. And we can take the action to be healing those wounds that we're carrying forward. So whatever the situation that triggered the catastrophizing, it triggered an opportunity to heal something that was from our past, from our individual experience or family experience or cultural experience or human experience, that we can then do the work that we need to do to bring ourselves present, and then recognize this circumstance is just this circumstance, and how can I respond to it? How can I bring possibility to it? What so we already recognized a possibility for healing. What other kinds of possibilities are there? We often want to jump into action to fix a perceived problem. But what if we allow ourselves to broaden our vantage point and to see a larger picture, and respond in accordance with the larger picture? And this is kind of the opposite of the generalizing of the catastrophe. So in one respect, we could be taking this catastrophe and then using external opportunities to validate it and strengthen it and magnify our fear. And that's often an automatic process. And we can bring that to our awareness and then instead say, well, how else might we approach this? How can I maintain or reclaim my sovereignty in this, my ability to respond as an individual, to respond from a place of presence rather than reactivity? What can I do? Part of what we can do is cultivate that awareness, because when we have that awareness, we can go to the seed that is the source of that fear. With money, culturally, we have a lot of ingrained beliefs and fears around money that have been cultivated and instilled in us from all different levels, on a perhaps personal experiential level, perhaps in our families, certainly in our cultures. And we can choose to take appropriate action without getting lost in the fear. And so if we interact with life from the framework that life is a gift, that life is happening for us and through us, then let's look at how that can be. What is the opportunity? What do I have the freedom to make this mean? Maybe it may be that we can actually reframe a financial setback, for example, as an opportunity to recognize the abundance we actually have and to be more present to that and appreciation for it. And that might sound a little twisty because the gut response is terror, right? Or fear, and survival stuff kicks in. But we get then to choose to be aware of and appreciative of our of the gifts, of the abundance that we do have. So what counteracts fear of lack is abundance. And the experience of fear and lack is largely a mental construct. When we can counter it by gratitude and appreciation, then it puts us in a different framework. And when we're in that framework, we have greater resilience. I'm hoping that makes sense, even though it's counterintuitive. You know, even though it may look like we have all kinds of justification to be terrified, or, you know, to feel that the world's coming to an end. So Rosalind says she's not hearing sound. I'm wondering if that's true for anybody else. I'm hoping not. Can you guys hear me? Well, we're almost done, but I'm wondering, okay, Rosalind says, sorry, it's me. Well, I'm glad it was you. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Dido. Yes, so I appreciate that. So anyway, it takes what may feel like a monumental act of will to literally turn our heads to see a different perspective of things. But let's allow ourselves the opportunity to be conscious creators of our lives. It's easy when things are going great. It's when things are going tough that our resolve is tested, and our commitment. And when we recognize life as happening for us and through us rather than to us, that we're not victims of it being blown around in the wind, that that instead we can be enjoying the travels that we have, and allow ourselves to navigate the ebbs and flows, where we get to kind of steward our passage. So we again can create possibility in any moment, and it takes a greater awareness and resolve to do that when life presents us with challenges. And we will be presented with more challenges, there's no doubt. So let's cultivate this muscle that enables us to interpret life in a way that serves our thriving rather than our demise. And with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please check out the other, at 9 a.m. Eastern, by the way. Please check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network on the Facebook page, as well as EWN One with the Earth and Enlightened World Living. And I so appreciate you and the time and the energy and the love that you share here in these morning chats. I'm so enriched by your contribution, and I am very, very grateful to spend this time with you. Until next time, so much love.